So my friend Brian and I were on a flight back from the favelas of Brazil back to the United States. I was a youth pastor, he was in campus ministry, just at a moment of being pretty discontent with the status quo of how ministry's done, how the church is, how culture is. So we'd taken a trip down to Brazil to just see some workers that were giving their lives and their hearts and their intelligence and their wisdom and their education for the sake of the lost and the least. And it was just downright inspiring, to be honest. So we're on this plane flight back, and we're talking, unable to sleep, talking, and we are going back and forth on the state of the church, what we saw there. And I asked him, hey, would you ever lead a church? Would you ever be, he said, oh, never. And he asked me, would you ever, and I'm like, oh, I'd never be a pastor, you know? But if I was, and that's where the conversation started, if I ever was pastoring a church, it'd have to be at a church that had certain things that they took seriously. And as we started talking, we got so excited. I said, wait a minute. And I pulled out one of those little napkins they give you on an airplane. And I took out a pen and we started to write these things down. It's like, man, if you were ever part of a church, I mean, number one, man, it would be all about Jesus. We're like, man, it's Jesus-centered and all about Jesus, His Word and His ways. And we started going through. We said it'd be about the lost, and we'd be radically in pursuit of those that don't yet know Jesus, because everyone deserves to hear that message of the love of God. And we mentioned the least of these and those that are poor, and just remembering, okay, saying, Jesus, have your way with these poor. And we ended up throwing out this number. We said, man, if we were in a church, 50% or more of everything that came in would go to missions and the poor. And I remember throwing that out there. Like, okay, and we had this list. I don't know, there might have been 20 things, might have been 30 items on the list. And I had this on a napkin, and I stuck it in my Bible, closed the Bible, and we're like, okay, we never would, but if we were, that's what we would do. Put it in my Bible, kind of closed the thing. Several years go by. And this napkin just kind of sticking around, you know. Our church asked me to be the pastor several times, and I had said no the first few times. And as I prayed, much to my surprise, I felt like God was saying, hey, this is your post. I want you to do this, to which I'm sort of arguing back and forth. I'm like, but Lord, the American church and blah, blah. But that napkin was there, and I remember kind of going through and at some point pulling this napkin back out and looking and saying, man, what would happen if we could get a church that would live up to that, you know? And that became the beginning, almost like a manifesto for our core DNA and our documents of what we wanted to be as a church. And so here we are now. It's been 10, 15 years, and I'm looking back over these years and over what has now been millions of dollars given to missions and thousands of disciples that have been made and parts of our city that have been penetrated. And honestly, it's just been inspiring to watch how ordinary people have become passionate followers of the actual way of Jesus. And even this radical generosity adventure that we've been on, where we've said we want to be a church that's going to give insane amounts of money away, that people would even look at what we do and say, how in the world did that happen? And we'd be able to say, it's Jesus and His way. And there's many of you that have been on this journey with us, and I just have to tell you, man, it's been inspiring. It's been heartening for someone like me to look at ordinary people that have been willing to sacrifice. I mean, college students and senior citizens and those that are retired, and guys with pocket protectors and guys with dreads and people that are tatted and people with nothing, or all sorts of people having this one thing in common of the way of Jesus and what that can do to an earth, to a world, to a city, to a family, to a culture. And as we've done this now, I just want to say to a lot of you that have walked on this journey with us, thank you so much for the ways that you've stepped into that with maybe fear and trepidation, but watching God come through. And if there happens to be anybody that is waiting for an invitation, waiting for someone to make the ask, I'm making the ask. Would you jump in with us? And let's watch what God does.